I'm gonna be honest. I skipped the history part of it.
I actually know
a really long part of it. I was like, oh god, fuck.
You actually skipped part of the article. He skipped part of the article.
Just the history part where they were explaining what money was.
I just skipped the history part that where the meat of the argument was.
I disagree. I think the meat of the argument.
How can you disagree? You didn't even read the shit.
Because I skimmed it. It said a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I was like, oh, I've watched this movie already.
Oh, by the way, I guess our video just started. Dude!
Really?
Yeah.
You gotta put a signature on it. It's like kind of like cursive. That was a cursive, really.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I like the rounding of the head and everything. It's like... felt like it was in slow motion. Okay, as you've seen from the title, this one is about the government's attempt to steal more of our money.
Hoorah!
And to monitor every single fucking penny that we spend or make.
And easily make decisions on your own transactions on how you spend it.
Even if you're buying a $1 cup of lemonade from the cute little girls down the street selling their perfect lemonade.
Good thing for them. They know exactly when you're doing it.
Yep. That is going to be, now they're going to know you are buying lemonade down the street. If that's what they get with the digitalization of money.
And believe it or not, even corporations that give you the money, right? You exchange your time for the money. They can actually make decisions on what you buy. So let's say you go down to Starship because you're just feeling a little bit freaky.
Starship?
Yeah.
Starship.
I thought that was a sex toy place. Feeling a little freaky?
Oh my god. Dude, you're talking about a sex toy? That's the place that comes into your mind instead of McDonald's or something. You talk about a sex toy.
McDonald's? They sell sex toys?
The Happy Meal. I didn't want to talk about...
I'd like the Happy Meal if you don't mind.
Oh, man, I don't even want to talk about where your brain is at, man. Oh my god, no. No. Okay, go ahead with your...
They can decide whether they approve of the purchase or not. So depending on the company policies, like say you work for Chick-fil-A, who's closed on Sundays for unusual reasons, they can decide, you know what, maybe you just don't need that rubber dildo.
Yeah, well, and they can make that decision, and the government can know everything about your lives if they digitalize money. Right now, if they digitalize money, they will know everything that you do. Everything that you do.
Yes.
So if you have a garage sale right now, one way for Americans to escape the theft called taxes is to get cash in ways that can't be reported. I've done it. He's done it. You've done it.
Unless the IRS is listening, I haven't done it.
My grandma did it with her garage sales.
Yes, it's an American staple.
Yes, she did not report the $67 or whatever she got from the garage sale. I didn't say anything to her, even though she was scrupulous about doing her taxes and all this other stuff. But even grandma, my grandma who would drive 56 and a 55, that's it. She would not go more than 1 mile over the speed limit.
She was a speedster.
Even she avoided the government. But now with the digitalization of cash, even my grandma is going to get caught. She can't do it.
And you better believe they are loving this idea.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're like, excuse me, what was that? We can know exactly when you get paid, how you get paid, where you get paid, where you use the money, and all those other things. And we can even add an excise tax to the fact that we have this whole digital system going.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
Sounds wonderful.
It's all good for the furries in government. It's good for them, bad for us. Now, instead of flooding the marketplace with trillions of dollars in cash as they did during the COVID crisis, now all they got to do is change the numbers on their digital computers and offer that to the banks. Same thing, a lot easier, doesn't get reported as much, flood the economy with digital cash and make everything more expensive as we're going through right now. Talk about how easy it's going to be. All they got to do is flip the switch, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And also on top of that, you got to imagine the love of power and control. You want to shut out some political parties that you don't like. What's the easiest way of doing that? Make sure they can't buy groceries. That's awesome. Freeze their accounts, no problem. It's not like they have.
Well, they can do that now.
Yeah, they can.
But they can probably do it more easily.
But you'd still have right now. You still have a physical representation that possibly somebody on a rainy day would still be able to use.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, once it goes all digital, what are you going to do?
And I agree. And all of this comes down to fiat currency. Governments throughout history, starting before the Romans, all governments throughout history have gotten away from the gold standard. They've printed their own cash, as much cash as they need. But that's why governments do this. They print cash to use it. And then they flood the marketplace with this cash, and that causes inflation. That's what inflation is, folks. It's too much cash for the goods that are in the marketplace. And when there's too much cash, the price of goods goes up, 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 and up. And that's why we have 8% inflation right now, is because of all the cash these furries printed during the COVID crisis. So that's why this is happening. And this has been going on for a long time. But believe it or not, there was actually a time in history, in the last 3,000 years, we had a 100-year time where this didn't happen. Guess when it was? All right, let me back up for a second. When I say fiat currency, cash currency, I mean cash that's not connected to gold. In other words, people put their money into a bank, and they know that they can go get their money anytime, but they can also get gold, which is a more solid currency.
Yeah, physical representation, like, is it actually the thing?
Yeah. So a lot of banks used to carry a certain amount of gold to back their currency. So they could only loan a certain amount of the deposits. It's called fractional banking. They could only loan a certain amount of their deposits out. And they kept this gold as security in case there was a run on the bank, in case people got afraid for whatever was going on. They could hand people out the gold. Here you go. Here's the gold. See how solid your money is? Here's the gold. So in proper banking, that's the way it's done. It's called gold-backed currency, precious metal banking. And that's proper banking. That's private banking. And believe it or not, there was a time in history where this proper banking happened. Do you know when and where it was?
Here in America during the 1800s, 1900s?
Bam. Oh my God. What are you, fucking Einstein? You
Yes.
been telling me this all the...
Yes.
So you are the smart one.
Yes.
Yes, motherfucker. That's good. So, all right. So Damon is right. It's 19th century America. 19th century America was actually pretty damn free. Check this out. In the last, a 1 pound loaf of bread in 1909 cost 4 pennies. A 1 pound loaf of bread now costs $1.50. So it's almost 40 times more expensive, because the government has been, starting around the early 1900s, the government eventually in the 1930s under Franklin Delano fucking Roosevelt got rid of the gold standard. And so that freed up the government to print as much cash as it wanted. So flooding the marketplace with cash. So the price of goods go up. So that's why bread right now is almost 40 times more expensive as it was in 1909. The reason I say 1909 is because let's go back 100 years. Let's go back to 1809.
Guess how much bread was?
Guess how much bread? All right, 4 cents in 1909. Guess how much bread was in 1809?
I'm gonna guess. What is 4 cents?
It's very close. It was actually 5 cents. It was actually more expensive, because that's the way it works when you have a proper banking system. Things become cheaper. Bread in 100 years went down a penny because the government wasn't free to print cash, because everything was gold backed. There was no inflation, folks. We have become so accustomed to inflation, to the government, to the furries printing cash and then using it and flooding the marketplace and basically impoverishing Americans, middle class Americans, because of this inflation. They've been doing this for 100 years, my friends. That's what they've been doing. 100 years there. And another example of how you can measure inflation is gold. The price of gold. The price of gold will go way up when you have inflation. It just keeps going. However much the inflation is, that's what happens with gold. Guess what the price of gold was in 1909, Damon?
$1?
No, it was $20.
$20.
Yeah. Price of gold in 1909 was $20. $20. Guess what it is now in June of 2022?
$1,800.
$1,850. So it's gone up 39. Is that right? 29, 39 times the amount. That's your inflation.
Yes.
That's how much inflation. So between 1909 and now, it's gone up 39 times the price of gold. That measures inflation. Gold prices always measure, because gold is solid. Gold will be a barometer for what you're doing with your cash. That's what it does. That's why it's an investment in the stock market. Okay, so it was $20 in 1909. Guess what the price of gold was in 1809?
$21.
$21. Good guess. You learn your lessons really fast, man. He's got a quick brain. I'm telling you.
Yeah, $1 less. See, 1 penny, $1.
That's good.
$1, $1.
That's good. So check this out. It's unbelievable if you think about it. If you go back and look at what's happened in America, where we used to have freedom and mostly had individual rights, and our marketplace was free, and the government didn't steal from us and flood the marketplace with fiat currency, with fake currency called dollar bills, greenbacks. 1809, by the way, is when Abraham Lincoln was born. And Charles Darwin. That's the reason I mentioned 1809. I forgot to mention that a while ago. I thought, well, let's start with a year, and I decided to start with 1809.
This is a good year.
Yeah, so 1809. Lincoln and Darwin are born. 1809. Price of gold is $21. 100 years later, if they had lived that long, they would have seen that the price of gold had basically not changed. They would have seen the price of a loaf of bread had basically not changed. But if they were born in 1909 and lived 100 years to 1980 to 2009, they would have seen price of bread go from $4 to $1.20, $1.25, or whatever it was in 2009. And they would have been scandalized by what's happening. So that's what's going on with the fiat currency. And now the government wants to double down with the digitalization so they can hide this shit and have their fiat be digital. And then completely run our lives and monitor every single penny, not every single dollar, every single penny in our lives. Yes. That's what this is about. It's what it's about. And if you don't know that, now you do. Go out and tell your friends. And like we always do in these programs, we'll bring it back down to our individual rights. We got a right to our own cash. We got a right to private banking. The government cannot be involved in money. Not just because they're furry and they're corrupt. They're all criminals. All politicians are criminals. Not because of that. It's because we got a right to this. If I start a bank, I got a right to create my own cash. I'm going to call it DAX Unlimited. I got a right to print my own cash. It says DAX Unlimited. Here's a $10, here's a 10 DAX, 20 DAX, or whatever, And then will that get out in the marketplace? Well, if I tell everybody, here's how much gold I have to back my DAX Unlimited cash so that they feel secure, then my cash will become the gold standard cash. People will be like, hey, have you heard about this guy? He's got this gold reserve, gold and silver reserve to back all of his notes. Let's start using DAX cash. That's the way private banking used to work in America. Private banks started their own cash until the government came in and said, you can't do that anymore. The government took over the money supply. So individual rights means we have a right to our own money and a right to whatever we do in the marketplace, and the government can have no say about capitalism. Zero. Because individual rights apply to business as well, because it's us doing something with business. Bam.
Yes.
Can I get a bam?
Bam.
Can I get a hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, motherfucker. Okay, I took it too far. Sorry.
Not going to lie, this is not exactly the strongest subject in my repertoire. But ultimately, I agree with Dax about digital currency is definitely going to enable even more theft than we're already experiencing.
More theft and more monitoring.
And more monitoring, yeah.
I mean, my grandma would be scandalized to know that her little garage sale, where she sold all of her little trinkets and stuff in the driveway, that people have to use a digital currency to buy that. I think she's rolling over in her grave right now.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, they can monitor everything. I knew a guy who bought a car for, let's say, I can't remember exactly, but let's say it was $10,000. Well, what he did was he worked out a deal with the dude he was buying it from. They were a couple of libertarians. And the deal they worked out was he was going to buy the car for $10,000 between them. You know, that's their secret number. But they decided that he would pay $5,000 in a check, and then he'd give him $5,000 in cash under the table. And then, $4,500 under the table, because the guy knew that if he took the $10,000 in a check, he would end up having to pay $1,000 in taxes. So he only nets $9,000, and this way he nets $9,500, and the other guy was going to have to pay taxes on the purchase, and he was going to end up having to pay $11,000, and this way he only pays $10,500. So they both make $500 extra through this private cash transaction. Well, with Digitized, which is good because they're keeping their money away from the thieving furry politicians. That's a good thing. That's a moral thing. It's an adult thing. But now with the digitalization, the politicians know this. The digitalization gets rid of the so-called black market. You can no longer keep your own cash. That's what this is about. That's one of the things this is about.
I mean, really, that's seems to be like the main push.
Yep.
Is how much more can we squeeze out of you,
yep,
peasants? Yeah,
and that's a good point. Also, if they can digitalize everything and find every single transaction, they get more taxes. So-called. That's the euphemism for theft.
Yeah.
Is taxes.
You don't think it's theft? It's strong arm robbery, really.
So that's the individual rights, connecting it back. This whole digitalization of currency. Connect it back to our right to our own banking system, our right to our own money, our right to our own privacy on our transactions. We have that right, a right, as we've said before, we're going to say it every single time, a right to your body, your property, your money, and all the actions you take with those three things. It is your right. Get it through your head, my friends.
Folks,
and join the revolution. Are you taking a jab at my folks thing? I will fuck you up. All right, anything else, David?
That's it,
You already said a damn thing.
It is. I did, yes.
No, this is something.
I agree with that guy.
This is something I've been pissed
I'm a
off about
genius.
for a long time.
Yeah, he sent me this long friggin' thing.
And he didn't read it all.
I read most of it. Most of it. But man, oh my God.
Yeah.
This guy, you know what? When we first started doing these videos, I don't know if you guys knew this, but go back in some of the videos and you'll see his notepad that he brings out every now and then. And he'll be like, he used to have this
I don't do that anymore.
long, drawn out list of things, and he used to hand it to me. He'd be like, yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm like, oh, God.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for
I think it's better this way.
spilling my secrets to the world. Okay, I own up. Oop, I better put this hand up. I can't see that one.
I know, right?
That
I was
was off
like,
the camera.
I'm always like, I'm right-handed too, which makes it even worse. So I was there talking with my right hand. I'm like, oh yeah, guys, you don't see that, but guess what?
Join us on this campaign for freedom, my friends.
Hoorah.
Let's get our individual rights back and say fuck you to digitalization by the furries.
Yes, and get government out of everything, all the aspects of our lives where they don't belong. Because there's only one place that government belongs. You know where it belongs? It belongs in making sure that somebody doesn't blow me up with a nuclear missile. That's where government belongs. Other than that, get the fuck out of my life.
Well, there's a few more things, but okay, I can live with that.
Or, yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, anything else, Damon?
That's it, Dax.
All right, catch y'all later. Bye now.
Folks.